I've never been the sporty type.
I know. But you always wanted to be?
I've always wanted to be. I've always wished that I could.
You are now the sporty type.
Am I?
Yeah. You're probably sportier than me.
I still feel like a poser, though.
Yeah, you probably are a poser.
I think I'm still a poser. Hey guys. So we have gotten a lot of questions recently about how we make money, how we financially support this lifestyle. And it's a decent question because I feel like I have the same question for everyone. Like when people are going to grad school, or when people are traveling the world, or when people are doing things and you're just like, there's that piece in the back of your mind that's like, I'm really happy for you, but how are you actually making this a reality? So we wanted to shed some light on the topic. We have some tips on how to get to our situation, which is not very often talked about.
That's true.
So I have actually had a remote job for about 2.5 years, 3 years now?
At least, yeah.
Yeah, I think almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in like March or something. So, so I've worked remotely. My whole team, my whole department at the company that we work for is remote. My boss lives in Virginia. My coworkers live in Texas, Michigan, and California. And I live on the road. The job that I do is social media marketing. Like we talked about before, we work for an ed tech company, and I work in the student life department, which is really unique for an alternative higher education company. We actually have a student life, we put on events, and put on different things for students. So my job is to market those events and those programs that we've developed for students to connect with each other. So I'm a lot on social media, a lot on community building, a lot on, like, I've done a lot of YouTube video stuff before because of that job. So that's what I do. What do you do?
Okay, so I work for the same company. My job is a little bit unique, but for a while I just did sales for about 2 years, and now I work for the sales department, but I do a hodgepodge of things. I contract currently. For anyone who really wants a remote job, the best thing to do is go get a decent job. Just like go get a good job. Go get a job. I don't care if if you're a marketing major, I don't care if you go get a marketing job or whatever. Get your foot in the door somewhere. Doesn't matter where. It's not going to be your cool marketing job. No big deal. Don't worry about it. You'll never start in a flashy job. And I think a lot of people are just out of college probably that are doing this fan thing, which we're just out of college too. So if you're about the same age as us, we're lucky to get jobs pretty soon. So I'd say just go get some job. It doesn't matter what the job is. It doesn't matter where it is. If it's a real, like a career type of job, you're on salary, you can really put in some good hours and be part of a team and build trust with the boss. Then over the course of building that trust, you can start to lay your own rules a little bit. Because no one cares what you have to say in the first year. The second year, people start caring what you have to say. I mean, you have to perform. That's super important. Go get some kind of job, perform really well, put your nose to the grind. Don't worry about this complex of, oh, I'm wasting my life. I'm 2 years in and, no, you're not stuck in it. Just go do a good job. Then you can start rewriting the rules a little bit. So you can start making requests that would not have been met otherwise. And it's not that you're taking advantage, it's that you're just cashing in on some trust. So for me, I worked at a company. They've been really great to me. I've been good to them. I've worked really hard. They have, really, compensated well and, just been wonderful and let me do a lot of things. So I worked for them for 2 years. And then afterwards I say, hey, I'm going to go do this van thing, but I really like working with you guys. And it seems like working with me. And so they're letting me do this remote thing. It's a little bit different. I set my own hours. Obviously I had to be willing to take a big pay cut and take a little bit of a pride cut, I guess, go down a little bit in status, but who cares? Like that, that's all part of it. So I'm appreciative of them giving me that leeway, but that would never have happened if I hadn't spent the time grinding it out, just building that trust and a day-to-day grind. It's not glamorous and it's not your dream job and it's not remote.
My dad has done a similar thing to you actually, where he worked for a company for years and then wanted to move. He's an animator and we lived in LA, and he wanted to move out into a much nicer area, and
which is where we are right now.
We're there right now. We're in Washington State, and they have land and it's a cheaper cost of living and everything, but he had trust with that company so that he could do a lot of freelance work for them and get paid basically the same. But they knew that he was going to perform. And I think that it's really interesting because for where we are at, like generationally, it's so frustrating sometimes because so many jobs can be done remotely.
Right.
All you need is an internet connection, and you can go anywhere. You can go to like 8 different coffee shops within a mile radius that have a decent internet connection and get your work done.
Yeah.
But so many companies are scared of it right now because you do have like remote work or remote workers. I mean, there's a lot of flexibility options.
It takes trust. You can take advantage of it.
And so you have to show that you're not going to take advantage of it.
Right.
I feel like some companies, I think you can train your employees as someone who works in a department where
and
my
has
boss
trained
is remote.
employees.
I've trained,
People
that's
work for
true.
you.
There's definitely a strategy to it, and you can do it. But some people just, it doesn't come naturally to you. You have to be self-motivated and that kind of thing. So I think a lot of companies are scared of it.
And you've got to make sure you get into a field that hypothetically could be remote. So if you're like managing a restaurant, you're never going to manage a restaurant remotely. That might be a great job. You might like it, but that is not, if you want a remote job, you could work there for 10 years. You're not any closer to a remote job. But there's, you know, for me, it was sales. Like I can do anything that I do just as easily on the road. I actually personally am more productive when I'm on my own. So for me, it's like, okay, I know this can be done. I understand why a company is hesitant to give me the reins, you know, anyone. There has to be trust built up, because then I could go off and pretend like I'm working really hard and I really only put in a couple of hours. That's easy to do. But a couple of years in, they know they trust me. They know my work ethic. I know how to do the job now, right? I don't need to be managed. There we go. No big deal. They're gracious. So I think that more companies than you would think are willing to do that.
Yeah.
Companies want good talent. Like there is so much talent out there, and there are so many companies looking for good talent, and there seems like, how are they not finding each other? The reason they're not finding each other is because most of the time that good talent is unwilling to humble themselves enough to get a crap job at the lowest level and grind it out until they are at the place where they have some authority. They want to come in with authority. Whereas the company that's looking for talent, they need a while to trust you. Like, and their timelines are 10 years or 5 years or 20 years. Your timeline is like the next 3 months. You know, it's like, I've already spent 6 months here. What am I doing with my life? Well, you're just building some trust. Chill the heck out. So I think that people put way too much stock in the glamour and immediate gratification and are unwilling to grind it out. I think for most people, the best way to get a remote job is to go to a company that could feasibly be like a job that could feasibly be remote. Probably isn't right now. Be willing to come into a low level, work really hard, gain a lot of trust, and then start making a little bit more request. And sometimes it's gradual. For me, it was 1 day a week remote. You know, test that out for a long time. And then,
So my process of landing my remote job was pretty unique. I was a student at this company and got into a basically like an internship. I worked my butt off during that student internship, and basically a few months into it, my supervisor at that point, who's now my boss, he texted me and was like, "You're doing an awesome job. I want to hire you." And so I texted him back and was like, "Are you serious about this?" And he said, "Yes, write a job description and I'll hire you." And I was like, you know, 18-year-old little Aubrey, like, what is this gold that I have stumbled upon? So I created a job for myself, and at that point, my boss was trying to build our department, and he ended up hiring one of my other internship buddies, and we still work together to this day. And that's
and how long ago was that? Was that 2014?
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah.
So even then, like he said, "I want to hire you." I wrote a job description, and he compensated me by like paying my tuition at that point, but I still wasn't being paid at all. And that was a 6-month period. Worked my butt off again during that 6-month period. And then he gave me a part-time job, worked my butt off there. And then he hired me full-time. This model, I guess, works better for somebody who is really young, probably still in college, and doesn't have a lot to lose, and can work for pretty much nothing. Because if you're willing to work for pretty much nothing, and you prove that you're indispensable, and you say, "Okay, I'm done, see ya," then your boss is probably going to say, wait, I want to keep you, and then they're going to pay you.
Your advantage was that you've always been remote. That's the biggest thing. And you've been able to build really good skills you can take elsewhere.
Right.
I did too, but my advantage was pay. Like I came in at a higher rate of pay, but I wasn't remote, right? So what I worked for you, you've been working gradually more and more pay and you know, like a better
and
job
just stayed
description.
in my position of
Same position.
remote,
For me, it was, I didn't really complain about the pay. I did never ask for a raise. That wasn't my goal, right? So you can't ask for everything. I didn't care to get a raise. My goal was I need to get remote. You especially have been building really good skills you can take elsewhere. Like graphic design and video and social media and online marketing, things like that. So we are actually making some money a little bit from YouTube, a little bit from other projects we're doing, like, you know, different like side marketing gigs. And then mostly from, you know, a little bit from some from my job, some from your job. So I feel like right now we're just building multiple channels, and that's like a next step after you've worked your butt off, after you've got the job you wanted, after you've built some good indispensable skills, then you can start building these side things and start multiple revenue channels. And there's a lot of steps up to that we haven't figured out because we're at the multiple revenue channel stage. And we're trying to move away less and less from like one main revenue channel. We're still like, you know, most of our money coming from one spot.
So takeaway, I guess, from this video is
work your butts off.
Work your butt off for a good period of time, and then don't be afraid to ask your supervisor, your company, to let you work remotely. Or at least, I mean, I've heard of people who work remotely for like 3 days out of the week, and they go on a long weekend every weekend. And their van, and then there you go. Yeah.
We spent a long time working. Like I would work 4 days a week, one day at home. She would work fully remote, and we would take long weekends or just have long weekends to ourselves. It was awesome. So yeah, work really hard, and don't feel entitled to remote work. Don't feel entitled to more money or more status or whatever. Those are not, just because you have a cool degree and a lot of skills does not entitle you to that. The trust and the relationships, that is how you earn it. Yeah. And that takes time. Yeah. So, wow, look at us being all preachy old people.
I know.
And we're just babies. All right.
Such wisdom.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully this was helpful. We probably don't know what we're talking about. So if you do, please let us, like, I mean, we are learning how to do this. Yeah. I'm still learning how to transition away from my job. We're still building other revenue streams and learning the internet ourselves. Yeah. So.
And if you make money remotely or have any unique way of supporting yourself and traveling or doing something alternative, let us know in the comments below. We would love to know what you're doing.
Truly would.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Have a nice rest of your day.
Bye, guys.
See you soon.